Hello, members, one and all of the Salivation Nation. Well, it's happened again. Looks like all of the precious metals, save for palladium, are continuing to drop. And for the first time, it looks like in quite a while, palladium is pummeling platinum. Wow, that's a pretty pricey proposition. You can think of any other P word that could describe such a phenomenon. Hey, look, it's another P word that starts with an F. And some people are thinking that this really is effed up. Donald in New Mexico, as one of them, proposed the idea that possibly the U.S. Mint releasing the new Palladium Eagles this month is part of the reason for the parity. Well, it's anybody's guess, and it is an understandable reaction and to see. But let's take a look at it further. I did find this article here on Reuters that talks about palladium and platinum hit price parity for the first time in 16 years. Coming out of London, palladium hit price parity with its better-known sister metal, platinum, on Wednesday for the first time since 2001. As demand expectations for the two assets diverged. Both are primarily consumed by automakers for catalytic converter manufacturing, but platinum is more heavily used in the diesel vehicles that have fallen out of favor since 2015's Volkswagen emissions rigging scandal. Palladium, in contrast, has benefited from a switch to petrol engines and expectations for growth in hybrid electric vehicles, which tend to be gasoline-powered. Interesting. All the news we've been hearing about the electrification of vehicles is good for sentiment towards palladium, as it implies more gasoline hybrid vehicles, Mitsubishi analyst Jonathan Butler said. Palladium has the wind in its sails from investor interest, which I mentioned earlier, and there has been a good amount of speculative activity holding it up and keeping market conditions tight, he added. Physical demand in Greater China has been very strong this year. Spot palladium was $9.19 an ounce, up 0.6%, while platinum was down 0.3% at $9.17.49 an ounce. Of course, this is as a recording of this video. Palladium prices have risen 35% this year against a 2% increase in platinum. Very, very interesting. I did not realize this about the catalytic converters and how platinum is used more heavily in the diesel vehicles. And how that's fallen out of favor. So there you have it, and there it is. And we can see by this price position here that it is well above $10, up $11 over platinum. But the thing is that as far as strict catalytic converter, I believe platinum is the purest of the noble metals that is used, and it is a better catalytic converter, is a much denser metal than palladium, which has a density somewhere between gold and silver. And so really, when you think about it, now that platinum is lower in price than palladium, it's probably just a matter of time before these numbers switch out. But the investor demand that was mentioned in this article, that several people in the community, since I've been reporting on palladium, have mentioned with the Eagles coming out, and that being, I think there is some investor interest. And of course, with U.S. Mint coming out with now a figure of a mintage of 15,000 to start, I don't know if that's going to be all they're going to release this year, or maybe that's all the planchets they can get their hands on, considering the increased demand for palladium in China. So it's hard to tell, but it's quite interesting. There's another article that talks about palladium increasing with and reaching out past the ETFs and the paper holdings. And so it's very interesting. It says palladium prices do not always move in line with ETF holdings, as this year's action shows. And after huge outflows in January, ETF demand for the year as a whole is still negative. And so it's quite interesting. And this is another telling quote here from this article. We don't even need to see massive investor buying, he said. We just need to see no investors selling. And so there is a rising demand for palladium. So who knows? It may be the new king of the noble metals going forth. But again, It's an industrial use, I think, is the biggest driver of this increase in prices. And so that thing kind of confirms my theory. And that though I think there is some role to play with the United States Mint releasing Palladium Eagles, there's also other demand from the Royal Canadian Mint, which is probably going to be the second one. They've been in the Palladium game for quite a while, since 2005, with a pause in production from 2009 to 2015. Uh, it's it's quite interesting to see how this is going to play out with Palladium and in competition with Platinum. I do think you'll see these come back in line someday. Who just knows when? Post your thoughts below on this development. I'd like to extend a multitude of gratitude to you all for watching and encourage you to please rate, comment, and subscribe.